English Daily, the podcast.
Your English journey starts now. Hey, English learners. Welcome back to your podcast, the English Daily Podcast.
Yes, we're so happy to have you here today.
Today's episode is all about something really important and super relevant for 2026. How to apologize for AI mistakes in professional settings.
That's right, and we're going to make it really practical for you, especially if you work in tech or any industry that's increasingly using AI systems.
So, whether you're a beginner or already speaking well, you'll find something useful here. We're going to cover tons of real phrases you can actually use at work.
Let's dive right in. Anna, I think this is such an interesting topic. I mean, we've all been there, right? You're using some AI tool and it just gives you wrong information or makes a mistake?
Oh, absolutely. Just last week, I was using an AI writing assistant to help me draft some emails for work, and it completely made up a statistic. I almost sent it to my boss. Can you imagine?
Oh, wow, that would have been so embarrassing. What did you do?
Well, I caught it at the last minute, thank goodness. But it got me thinking, what if I hadn't caught it? What if it had actually gone out? I would have had to apologize, and honestly, I wasn't sure how to do that properly.
See, that's exactly why we need this episode. And you know what's even trickier? It's not just about apologizing for your own mistakes anymore. Now we're apologizing for AI mistakes, and that's a whole new ball game.
What do you mean by that, Jack? Why is it different?
Well, think about it. When a human makes a mistake, you can say, "I'm sorry, I made an error." But when AI makes a mistake, there's this weird gray area, right? The AI isn't a person, but you still represent the company or the product. So how do you take accountability without making it sound like you're blaming the technology?
That's such a good point. And honestly, I think people are still figuring out the right way to handle this. There's no traditional etiquette for AI mistakes because AI is so new in our daily work lives.
Exactly, and that's what we're here to help with today. We're going to give you the language you need to navigate these situations professionally and confidently.
I love that. So let's start from the beginning. What do you think is the most important thing to remember when you're apologizing for an AI error?
That's a great question. I think the most important thing is accountability. Even though the AI made the mistake, as the human representative, you need to take ownership. Don't try to pass the buck or make excuses. Say we and our more than it or the AI.
Can you give us an example of what that sounds like in practice?
Sure. Instead of saying the AI generated the wrong information, you would say we provided incorrect information in our last communication. See the difference? You're still acknowledging the error without making it sound like you're washing your hands of it.
Oh, that's really subtle, but so important. And I think that's something a lot of people get wrong. They try to distance themselves from the AI's mistake, but it actually makes them look worse, not better.
Oh, guilty as charged. I've definitely done that before. It's tempting to say the system messed up because you don't want to take blame, but it comes across as evasive. People respect honesty way more.
That's so true. And you know what? I think that's actually the first key phrase we should teach everyone. We take full responsibility for this error. Simple, direct, and it shows accountability.
Yes, that's a perfect one to start with. Let's keep going because there's so much more to cover here.
Okay, so we've established that accountability is crucial. But what about when the mistake is really serious? Like maybe it's affected a client or caused some kind of financial damage.
Oh, that's such an important point, Anna. That's where escalation paths come in. You can't just say sorry and leave it at that. You need to show people what you're doing to fix the problem and make sure it doesn't happen again.
Right, because an apology without action is just words, right?
Exactly. You've hit the nail on the head. So when you're dealing with a serious AI error, you want to acknowledge the mistake, Explain briefly what happened, and then immediately move to your escalation path, what you're doing to fix it, who people can contact, and how you'll prevent it in the future.
Can you walk us through what that sounds like in a real conversation?
Of course. So imagine the client comes to you and says, "Hey, your AI gave us the wrong data for our quarterly report." You might say something like, "I want to sincerely apologize for the error in your quarterly report. Our AI system processing your data experienced a glitch that resulted in incorrect figures. We've already identified the issue, and our technical team is working to resolve it. Your dedicated account manager, Sarah, will be in touch within 24 hours with corrected data. We're also implementing additional verification steps to prevent this from happening again."
Wow, that's a really comprehensive response. It's not just sorry, it's the whole package: acknowledgement, explanation, solution, and prevention.
Right, and that's what people need to hear when they're frustrated. They need to know that you're taking this seriously and that something concrete is being done.
What about when the mistake is smaller? Like maybe it's just a typo or a minor error in a chatbot response.
Good question. For smaller errors, you can be a bit more casual, but you still want to acknowledge it. Something like, "Oops, our AI assistant gave you some incorrect information there. Thanks for catching that. We're constantly learning and improving, and your feedback helps us get better."
I love how that turns a negative into a positive. You're thanking them for pointing out the mistake, which makes them feel like they're contributing to improvement rather than just complaining.
Exactly. And honestly, that's such an important skill in customer service in general, not just for AI errors. How you handle complaints and mistakes can totally turn a frustrated customer into a loyal one.
That's such a great point. I remember one time I made a mistake with a delivery order, and the way they handled it, they were so apologetic and proactive. I actually ended up ordering from them again because I trusted their customer service.
Oh, tell me more about that. What did they do exactly?
Well, I ordered a vegetarian pizza, and they sent me a meat lover's pizza. When I called to complain, the person was so nice about it. They said, "We're so sorry about this mix-up. We're going to send you the right pizza immediately, and we're also going to refund your original order as an apology. And here's a coupon for your next order." Can you believe that? They went above and beyond.
Wow, that's amazing service. And you know what? That's exactly the kind of thinking we need to apply to AI errors too. It's not just about saying sorry, it's about making things right.
Definitely. So the key phrase here might be something like, "We're implementing immediate corrective measures to resolve this issue and prevent it from recurring." That sounds so professional and shows you're taking action.
Yes. And remember, it's always better to slightly over-deliver on the apology than under-deliver. If you're too casual, people might think you don't care. If you're too formal, it might feel insincere. Find that sweet spot.
You know, Jack, I think there's something really important we haven't talked about yet, and that's the human element. Because with AI, there's this risk of sounding too robotic or clinical when you're apologizing.
Oh, that's such a great point. You're right. If you just send a message that's like, "Error acknowledged, apology issued, resolution in progress," it's going to feel cold and impersonal.
Exactly. And that's the danger with AI apologies in general. People are already a bit wary of AI, right? So if your apology sounds AI generated, it's going to make everything worse.
Right, so you really need to inject human empathy into your communication. And that's not just about the words you use, it's about the tone and the feeling behind them.
How do you do that in practice? What does it sound like?
Let me give you an example. Instead of just saying, "We apologize for the error," you might say, "I personally want to apologize for the frustration this has caused. I understand how inconvenient this must be for you, and I'm truly sorry." See the difference? You're adding a personal touch.
Oh, that's so much better. And I think the key is using words like "I understand" and "I can imagine" to show that there's a real person on the other side who gets it.
Exactly. And another great phrase might be, "I completely understand your frustration, and I would feel the same way in your position." That validation is so important.
You know, This is making me think about a situation I was in a few months ago. I was dealing with a customer service issue, not AI related, but still, and the person I was talking to was so empathetic. They said, I can hear how frustrated you are, and I completely understand why. Let me see what I can do to make this right.
And how did that make you feel?
Honestly, it made me feel so much better immediately. Even though the problem wasn't solved yet, just knowing that this person really understood where I was coming from took the edge off. I wasn't as angry anymore.
That's the power of empathy. And that's exactly what you need to bring into your AI apologies too. Even though the error might have been caused by a machine, the apology should always come from a human heart.
I love that way of putting it. So let's make sure our listeners understand. The technology might have failed, but your humanity shouldn't.
Absolutely. And here's another great phrase for showing empathy. We know this has caused you inconvenience, and we sincerely value your business and patience. That shows you recognize the impact and you appreciate them.
That's such a good one. And it's important to remember that different situations call for different levels of empathy. If it's a minor thing, you don't want to overdo it. But if it's something really significant, you want to really emphasize that you understand the person's feelings.
How do you know when to dial it up or dial it down?
Great question. I think it really depends on the severity of the error and the relationship you have with the person. If it's a longtime client who's spent a lot of money with you, you want to be more heartfelt. If it's a one-time thing with someone who just tried your service, a more standard apology might be fine.
That's really wise, Anna, and I think the safest approach is always to lean slightly more toward empathy rather than less. It's better to be a little too caring than not caring enough.
Definitely. I would much rather receive an apology that's too warm than one that's too cold. That's for sure.
So we've talked about accountability, escalation paths, and human empathy. But what about transparency? I think that's another really important piece of the puzzle.
Oh, absolutely. Transparency is huge. And you know what? I think it's especially important with AI because people are already a bit suspicious of how these systems work.
Right. Like when an AI makes a mistake, people want to know why. They want to understand what happened. If you just say, "We're sorry," without explaining anything, they're going to think you're hiding something.
So, what should you tell them? How much detail is too much detail?
That's a great question. I think you want to give enough information to show that you understand what happened and you're addressing it, but not so much that it becomes technical and confusing. Something like, our AI system misinterpreted the data due to an unexpected format change. We've identified the root cause and implemented a fix.
Oh, I like that. It's specific enough to show you know what happened, but it's not getting bogged down in technical jargon.
Exactly. And here's another phrase that's great for transparency. We want to be completely transparent with you about what happened and what we're doing to prevent it in the future. That sets the tone right away.
This makes me think about companies that have had major AI failures in the news. Some of them tried to cover it up or minimize it, and it always backfired. But the ones that were upfront from the beginning and said, hey, our AI made a serious error, here's exactly what happened, here's what we're doing to fix it, they probably would have recovered much faster.
Oh, 100%. I remember there was a big story last year about an AI chatbot that gave some really bad medical advice, and the company initially tried to downplay it, saying it was an edge case and not a big deal. People were furious.
Oh, I think I remember that. What happened?
Well, they eventually had to issue a much bigger public apology, and it took them a long time to rebuild trust. If they had been upfront from the beginning and said, hey, our AI made a serious error, here's exactly what happened, here's what we're doing to fix it, they probably would have recovered much faster.
That's such an important lesson. Transparency really is the best policy, especially in situations where people are already skeptical of AI.
So here's another key phrase for our listeners. We believe in complete transparency, so here's exactly what happened. That shows you're not trying to hide anything.
And what about when you don't know exactly what happened yet? Because sometimes these errors are really complex and it takes time to figure out the root cause.
Oh, that's such a good point. And that's a situation where you need to be honest about what you don't know while still showing that you're investigating. Something like, we're still conducting a thorough investigation to determine the exact cause, but what we do know is that this should not have happened, and we're taking immediate steps to prevent any recurrence.
That's perfect. You're being honest that you don't have all the answers yet, but you're still taking accountability and showing that you're actively working on it.
Yes, and people really appreciate that honesty. It's much better than trying to make up an explanation or pretending you know more than you do.
Definitely. So transparency is key, and remember, it's always better to over-explain than under-explain when it comes to AI errors.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground: accountability, escalation, empathy, and transparency. But I think there's one more really important piece that often gets overlooked, and that's the follow-up.
The follow-up. What do you mean by that?
I mean, checking back with the person after the issue has been resolved to make sure they're satisfied and to rebuild the relationship. A lot of people think the apology is the end of the process, but it's really just the beginning.
Oh, that's such a good point. I think a lot of companies drop the ball here. They say sorry, they fix the problem, and then they move on without ever checking in to see if the customer is actually happy.
Exactly. And that's such a missed opportunity. The follow-up is your chance to turn a negative experience into a positive one. It's your chance to show that you really care, not just about fixing the problem, but about the person.
So, what should the follow-up look like? What do you say?
Great question. Something like, I wanted to follow up on our previous conversation to make sure everything is working properly now and that you're satisfied with the resolution. Is there anything else we can help you with?
Oh, that's so simple, but so effective. And I think the key is that it shows you're thinking about them even after the immediate crisis has passed.
Right. And here's another great phrase. We truly value your business and want to ensure your complete satisfaction. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any further concerns. That keeps the door open and shows you're committed to the relationship.
You know, this is making me think about a time when a company did this really well for me. I had an issue with a software subscription, not AI related, but still, and they were so good about the follow-up. They not only fixed the problem quickly, but a week later they sent me an email checking in to make sure everything was still working fine, and they gave me a discount on my next month as a thank you for my patience.
Wow, that's amazing service. And I'm sure you're still a customer of theirs, right?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I've recommended them to so many people because of how well they handled that situation. It really made a difference.
That's the power of a good follow-up. It can turn a complaining customer into a brand ambassador. So here's another key phrase. Your satisfaction is our top priority, and we're committed to ensuring this doesn't happen again.
I love that. And I think it's so important to remember that every interaction is an opportunity to build trust, even the follow-up after a mistake.
Definitely. And you know what? This applies to AI errors in a special way. Because AI is still so new, people are watching how companies handle these situations very closely. If you handle an AI error well, with a good apology, a quick fix, and a thoughtful follow-up, you're not just fixing one problem, you're building trust with all the other potential customers who might hear about it.
That's such a smart way to look at it. It's not just about solving one person's problem, it's about showing everyone else how responsible and trustworthy you are.
Exactly. So don't ever think of an error as just a problem to solve. Think of it as an opportunity to demonstrate your company's values and build deeper relationships with your customers.
Jack, I just realized something. We mostly talk about English in this podcast, but our listeners are from all over the world, right? And different cultures have different ways of apologizing and showing respect.
Oh, that's such an important point, Anna. You're absolutely right. And when it comes to AI errors, which can happen across borders and between people from different cultural backgrounds, this is something to be really mindful of.
So, what are some things to consider? What are the differences?
Well, in some cultures, like Japan and many other Asian cultures, the apology is a very formal and important ritual. You might need to be more formal and use stronger language to show respect. In other cultures, like the US or Australia, things might be a bit more casual and direct.
Can you give us some examples of how that might look in practice?
Sure. For a more formal situation, you might say, "We sincerely and humbly apologize for the error caused by our AI system. We take full responsibility and assure you this will not happen again." That's very formal and respectful.
And for a more casual situation.
For a more casual situation, you could say, "Hey, sorry about that mix-up with our AI. We're on it and hope to have it sorted out ASAP. Thanks for your patience."
Wow, that's a huge difference. And I guess knowing your audience is really key here.
Absolutely. And here's another important consideration. In some cultures, the group is more important than the individual, so you might want to emphasize how the error affected the team or the organization. In other cultures, the individual relationship might be more important, so you want to focus more on the personal connection.
That makes sense. And I think another thing to think about is how direct or indirect to be. Some cultures prefer a very direct apology, while others might find that too blunt.
Right. In some cultures, you might want to circle around the apology a bit, showing humility and context before getting to the actual sorry. In others, you want to just say it directly and then move on to solutions.
So, what would you recommend to someone who's dealing with AI errors across different cultures?
My recommendation would be to always err on the side of being slightly more formal and respectful than you think is necessary, especially if you're not sure about the cultural background. It's always easier to relax into a more casual tone than to realize you've been too casual and offended someone.
That's really wise advice. And here's another key phrase for our listeners. We deeply regret any inconvenience this may have caused and are committed to ensuring a better experience moving forward. That works well in most formal contexts.
Yes, and for more informal contexts, sorry for the trouble. We're working hard to make sure this doesn't happen again. Simple and effective.
I think this is such an important topic because AI is truly global now. It's not just happening in one country or one culture. So understanding these nuances is more important than ever.
Absolutely. And I think the key takeaway here is to always be culturally sensitive, to do your homework when dealing with international clients, and to always show genuine respect and empathy, regardless of the cultural context.
I love that as our closing thought for this section. Respect and empathy are universal, and they always matter, no matter where you're communicating from or to.
Okay, everyone, now it's time for our vocabulary breakdown. We're going to go over some of the key phrases we mentioned today so you can practice using them in your own professional communications.
Let's start with something simple but powerful. We take full responsibility for this error. This is such an important phrase because it shows immediate accountability.
Right, and you could also say, "I take full responsibility," if you want to make it more personal. For example, "I take full responsibility for the incorrect information that was sent out."
Next up, we sincerely apologize for any inconvenience this may have caused. This one is great for formal situations because it's respectful and acknowledges the impact on the other person.
Another good one, "We understand your frustration and are working to resolve this as quickly as possible." This shows empathy and action at the same time.
Let's talk about escalation paths. Our technical team has identified the issue and is implementing a fix as we speak. This tells the person that concrete action is being taken right now.
And for following up, we wanted to follow up and ensure you're satisfied with the resolution. This shows you care about the outcome, not just fixing the immediate problem.
For transparency, we believe in complete transparency, so here's what happened. This sets a tone of honesty and openness.
Another transparency phrase, "We're still investigating the root cause and will provide more details as soon as possible." This is honest about what you don't know while still being proactive.
For showing empathy, I completely understand how frustrating this must be, and I would feel the same way. This validates their feelings in a powerful way.
And we truly value your business and appreciate your patience. This shows gratitude, even in a difficult situation.
For escalation, your dedicated account manager will be in touch within 24 hours to personally oversee this resolution. This shows commitment and personal accountability.
Another one, we're implementing immediate corrective measures to prevent this from happening again. This looks forward and shows you're learning from the mistake.
For closure, please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any further concerns. This keeps the door open for ongoing communication.
And your satisfaction is our top priority. Simple, but powerful.
For cultural sensitivity, we deeply regret any inconvenience this may have caused. This works well in more formal or international contexts.
And finally, we're committed to ensuring a better experience moving forward. This looks to the future and shows you're focused on improvement.
Phew, that's a lot of great phrases. I hope everyone will practice these and find opportunities to use them in their professional lives.
Yes, and remember, the more you practice, the more natural it will become. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how we learn.
All right, everyone, it's time for our reflection questions. These are for you to think about on your own or discuss with friends or colleagues.
First question, have you ever experienced an AI error in your professional life? How did you handle it? Or how would you handle it differently now?
Second, what's the most important element of an apology to you? The acknowledgement, the explanation, the solution, or the empathy? Why?
Third, think about a time when you received a really good apology. What made it stand out? What specific words or actions made you feel better?
Fourth, how do you think the approach to apologizing for AI errors might change in the next few years as AI becomes more common?
Fifth, if you were a customer and an AI made a mistake, what would you want to hear in the apology? What would make you forgive and continue doing business with that company?
Sixth, how do you balance being transparent about AI errors without overwhelming customers with too much technical information?
Seventh, do you think the cultural context matters more or less when apologizing for AI errors compared to human errors? Why?
Eighth, what's one phrase from today's episode that you want to practice using this week? How will you use it?
Ninth, how can companies use AI errors as an opportunity to build stronger relationships with their customers instead of just damage control?
10th, why do you think some companies struggle to apologize effectively for AI errors? What do you think holds them back?
Wow, those are some great questions to think about. Take your time with them and remember that there's no right or wrong answer. The important thing is to think critically about these situations.
Absolutely. And if you'd like to share your thoughts with us, don't hesitate to reach out. We love hearing from our listeners.
That's all for today's episode, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, English learners. Keep practicing, and remember, every mistake is an opportunity to learn and grow. Your learning journey doesn't stop here. Keep improving your English. Click the next video or explore more episodes we've picked just for you. See you in the next lesson.